Welcome to the first episode of Albums You Should Listen To, similar to my other series, Horror Movies You Should Watch. If you wish to check out that series, hit the subscribe button. In this series, I'm going to recommend albums that I enjoy and want you guys to check out. This series welcomes people of any kind of music taste, and yes, I'm primarily a metalhead. However, there are other genres of music I enjoy. I'm pretty diverse. I'm going to be recommending albums of all types of genres, just to mix things up a bit. In each episode, I'll recommend about 6 albums you should definitely check out. So let's get started. Now, I wanted to start this series off with one of my favorite metal albums of all time. I'm talking 1995. I'm talking Fear Factory, Demanufacture. This was their second album and their best in their entire catalog in my opinion. Fear Factory falls under the categories of industrial metal, nu metal, and mostly groove metal, which was a popular subgenre of metal in the mid-90s. Bands like Sepultura, Soulfly, and of course Pantera also go for that groove metal type of vibe. Demanufacture by Fear Factory is just such an exciting album, man. The aggressive machine gun-like guitar riffs and the explosive drumming really show how ahead of time this album was in 1995. It's such a good album. Check out songs like Piss Christ, Replica, and Zero Signal. It's just adrenaline at its fucking finest. The album keeps your blood pumping from start to finish. The intensity of every song on this album is just insane. One of my favorite albums of all time. Another album I wanted to recommend for you guys today is on the opposite ends of the metal spectrum. I'm stepping into the world of hip-hop and rap, which I rarely ever do, but one of my favorite rappers of all time is Method Man, simply because of his aggressive, darker style of hip-hop. He originated from the Wu-Tang Clan, but I wanted to recommend his debut solo album, Tikal, which also came out around 1994 or 1995. Now, my favorite songs off this album are the album-titled song, Tikal, which has a dark, almost droning beat, and Bring the Pain is an obvious classic, another sinister-sounding track. This album, all in all, was incredibly unique. I highly recommend it for any hip-hop people out there. Now, one band that I absolutely love that I rarely ever get the chance to talk about is Black Label Society. They're one of my favorite bands in the rock and metal categories, and I really wanted to talk about my favorite album by them entitled Stronger Than Death, which came out in 2000. This album's got a mix of hard and heavy rock anthems like the exciting opener song All For You, and then they're able to slow things down for a more softer, emotionally powerful sound which you hear in songs like Rust, which is one of my favorite Black Label Society songs out there. This album never fails to deliver at any point. It's just a fun album. Kinda rides the lines of both hard rock and heavy metal, but Zakk Wylde is just all in all an insane guitarist. He's really one of the best. If you're gonna get into Black Label Society and need an album to start with this album. It's just so fucking powerful and it has a lot of influences. You can hear some Sabbath in there with a heavier vibe, especially on songs like Phony Smiles and Fake Hellos. It's just a wild album to listen to all together. Now, I wanted to shift gears a bit here and talk about one of my favorite genres of music outside of metal. I'm talking fucking synthwave, man, taking those 80s synth vibes and modernizing them. I'm always a sucker for that, and that's why I wanted to discuss Carpenter Brut on this episode. I actually discovered them by seeing them live a couple years ago. They opened for Ministry when I went to their show, and I actually looked them up after the show, and I fell in love with everything I saw. The dark synthwave vibe, the horror slasher visuals they use in their videos, the 80s aesthetics, just everything about them I absolutely loved. And the one album that I really enjoyed that showcases Carpenter Brut at their finest was Trilogy. You should really check these guys out. Check out the song Turbo Killer. It's got that dark, heavy 80s synth vibe with a sense of urgency that keeps the song flowing in an interesting way. Hang 'Em All is also a fun track, but yeah, do check these guys out. They are fucking great, and I had to recommend something of theirs. This is unexpected. I've never done this on my channel, but I wanted to recommend a Drake album to you guys entitled Take Care, which came out in 2011. Believe it or not, I genuinely enjoy this album. Being from Toronto, it's just one of those albums that really represent the city. It's got that cold, dark, sensitive R&B hip-hop vibe to it. Songs like Crew Love featuring The Weeknd, which you may or may not know I'm a huge Weeknd fan, are just fun to listen to, and it just takes me back to my high school years. Probably the Drake album I like the most. I figured I'd switch gears and talk about some hip-hop and R&B, and I can tell you this album's definitely interestingly enjoyable for me. Some of you fans of that type of music will agree with me. Now, the final album I wanted to recommend to you guys for this episode, I did not think I would be super into at first, but ended up really enjoying it. For those of you who may or may not know, I'm actually a huge Lana Del Rey fan. She's one of my favorite singers outside of the metal universe. My favorite album by her that I wanted to recommend was Lust for Life, which dropped in 2017, and it's just a fine piece of work. Lana's voice is beautifully haunting at times. You can hear raw emotion and purity in it. The overall vibe of this album is vintage, almost romantically dark and ethereal in a way. Songs like Love, White Mustang, In My Feelings, Summer Bummer, and the album-titled song featuring The Weeknd, Lust for Life, really displayed all of that. It's one of the most unique albums I've heard in recent time, and I had to suggest it to you guys. And that concludes the first episode of Albums You Should Listen To. I wanted to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to watch. Comment what you think of some of the albums I suggested. Feel free to comment albums you enjoy. I welcome all kinds of music. And if you wish to see more or check out my other videos, do check them out. Feel free to hit that subscribe button for further episodes. Thank you guys for watching. Rock on.